My husband Robert teamed up with the other woman to push me, 8 months pregnant, from a building so she could rightfully enter our home and inherit the family assets. I lost my baby and nearly died. I overheard him telling someone he planned to give me sterilization medication, and he personally killed our own child. They were relentless and unscrupulous. I decided to divorce him. At an event, I publicly exposed their crimes and their relationship. However, retribution soon followed. 8 months pregnant, I was pushed from the second floor. I bled profusely. Robert frantically carried me to the hospital and brought in a leading specialist to perform surgery. Fortunately, the baby was saved. When I opened my eyes again, neither the baby nor Robert was by my side. I struggled to get up, limping as I searched around. But at the door of the morgue, I heard a conversation between Robert and a doctor. "Mr. Robert, the baby was clearly still breathing. How could you smother him to death? That was your own child. He shouldn't have come into this world anyway. Jessica just gave birth to my son yesterday. I promised her I would make our child the sole heir of the family, allowing no one else to compete with him for the inheritance. So, the happy family was just my own delusion. The marriage I was so proud of was nothing but a cold hell. If that's how it is, then I'll just leave." The doctor looked hesitant. "But you want to use Jessica's child to deceive Mrs. Robert. What if she finds out? Newborn babies all look similar." "She won't find out. I'll take him over in a bit. Dispose of the body cleanly. Also, give me that sterilization medication your hospital has, the one that makes women permanently infertile. I'll give it to Sarah later." The doctor was shocked and exclaimed anxiously, "Mr. Robert, you've already killed Mrs. Robert's child to bring Jessica's child into the family. Why sterilize her too? Isn't that too cruel?" The coldness of the morgue seeped out, but Robert's words were even more chilling. "I promised Jessica that our child would never suffer any hardship in this life, and that there would be no other siblings competing with him for attention. Even if she's already someone else's wife, I want to give her peace of mind." The doctor showed reluctance. "Mr. Robert, I must warn you, that medication has just been developed and hasn't undergone clinical trials yet. It has very serious side effects. Can you really bring yourself to do it?" Robert paused, then sighed. "There's no other way. Sarah will wake up soon. If I perform a hysterectomy on her now, it would inevitably arouse her suspicion. She'll just have to bear it. I'll compensate her well later, but I absolutely cannot allow Sarah to have the possibility of getting pregnant again." Just as he finished speaking, Robert's phone rang. He put it on speakerphone, and an excited man's voice echoed in the morgue. "Mr. Robert, I've received the 5 million. Don't worry, I'm leaving Metro City right away. I absolutely won't let Mrs. Robert know that you were the one who had me push her from the building. Heh." Footsteps came from inside. Bearing the pain in my leg, I stumbled back to the hospital room. Thinking of the baby's tiny body in the morgue, I clutched my chest tightly, tears splattering onto my bandaged leg. So, me being pushed from the building at the mall wasn't an accident. It was my dear husband, clearing the way for the woman he loved and their child. My baby didn't survive either. He was smothered to death by his own father. In Robert's eyes, my child and I were nothing but stumbling blocks. "Sarah, you're awake." Robert came in carrying a baby and sat smiling by the bed. "Come look at our baby. See how much he looks like us. Honey, thank you for giving me such a cute son. I'll definitely be a good father." I looked at the baby sleeping soundly in his arms, and my heart ached. Robert was wrong. No mother would mistake her own child. The baby's features were very much like Robert's, but the nose and chin looked almost exactly like Jessica's. This was their child. And my baby, at that moment, was just a cold body? "Sarah, does your leg still hurt? Here, take some pain medication." The concern and tenderness in his eyes were the same as before, but it was all just a facade to deceive me. I looked at the pills in his hand, remembering what I had just heard. "Robert, the pills are too bitter. Can I take them later? You've already killed one of my children, please at least leave me the right to be a mother." Robert hesitated for only a second, then smiled and stroked my head. "You're a mother now, why are you still acting like a child? Giving birth was already very difficult, and your leg hurts, you're uncomfortable. My heart aches so much I can't sleep all night. Sarah, please just take pity on your husband, okay? I still need to be a daddy taking care of our baby." I added honey to the water. "It's very sweet. Here, let your husband feed you." "No, that's not my baby, it's yours and Jessica's." Robert brought the pills to my mouth, not giving me a chance to refuse again. My blood ran cold. I closed my eyes and swallowed the pills whole, without drinking the honey water. I don't want this fake sweetness. The drug's effects were quick. My lower abdomen felt like it was burning with fire, as if someone were cutting me open with a knife. Blood flowed out from below. "Sarah, what's wrong?" Robert called for a doctor. I was in so much pain I passed out. In a blur of consciousness, I heard the doctor say, "Mr. Robert, Mrs. Robert's entire uterus has been destroyed. She can never have children again." Robert let out a long sigh of relief. When I opened my eyes again, his eyes were red-rimmed, and he looked at me, with a pained expression. "Sarah, the doctor said you had a sudden severe postpartum hemorrhage, and can never have children again. Don't be sad. Fortunately, we already have Ethan. When he grows up, he'll definitely take good care of you." Ethan. He named Jessica's child so quickly. Robert refused the nurse's help cleaning me up. Ignoring his own germophobia, he personally brought hot water and helped clean up the blood. He told me his mother wanted to see their grandson Ethan, and had already taken the baby away. By the time he finished everything, it was already late at night. I looked at his slightly tired face, and managed a weak smile. "I'm okay. You've had a long day too, you should rest." Robert kissed my forehead. "Okay? If you need anything, wake me up. Tomorrow I'll take you to pick up Ethan, and we'll have a good life together as a family of 3. After he fell asleep, I quietly picked up his phone. To show his loyalty to me, Robert's phone never had a lock screen. But I never knew he had actually set up a dual operating system, and the password to switch systems was Sarah's birthday. As the system switched, the wallpaper changed to a college photo of him and Sarah. In his messages, there was only Sarah. Clicking on the conversation, a photo of Sarah holding a child immediately stung my eyes. "Rob, look how beautiful our child is, he's going to be as handsome as you when he grows up." That child was identical to the one Robert had held and shown me that evening. The further up I scrolled through the chat history, the colder my heart became. During the 8 months I was pregnant, Robert was constantly on business trips. The days he spent by my side I could count on 2 hands. I didn't want to disrupt his work, so I silently endured the discomfort of morning sickness, and went to prenatal checkups at the hospital by myself. Only now did I realize that his so-called business trips were just an excuse to be with Sarah while she was pregnant. Among the tens of thousands of photos, every detail of Sarah's pregnancy and childbirth was documented. Every day, Robert personally cooked her nutritional meals, walked and shopped with her, and even held his hands out to catch her vomit during morning sickness. Every prenatal checkup she had, he was by her side, never leaving her side, his affectionate gaze as if he were looking at a rare treasure. I had begged Robert many times, wanting him to name our child. He would always take a long time to reply to my messages. "Claire, something like a name is just a label, you can just pick anyone. I'm very busy, we'll talk about it after he's born." But when Sarah had just gotten pregnant, Robert had already thought of hundreds of names for the baby in her belly. "Sarah, how about calling our baby Zuchi? A promising future. Or how about Bo Yuan? Meaning vast knowledge and a bright future. Never mind, let's just call him Leo. I don't expect him to be outstanding, I just wish him to be safe and sound." After every prenatal checkup, he would give Sarah a gift, either luxurious jewelry or a limited edition sports car. Our Sarah safely got through another prenatal checkup, he'd say, "We must celebrate." He even gave her a European castle to celebrate her smooth delivery. What I got, on the other hand, was always just one sentence: "Claire, thank you for your effort, I have a meeting to go to now." So this is how clear love and lack of love can be. My heart turning cold, I put down the phone and bought myself a plane ticket to go overseas 3 days later. Returning to the hospital bed, I stared blankly at the ceiling. My heart filled with sorrow, I spent a sleepless night. The next day, Robert, as usual, had his assistant specifically buy nutritional meals for me. Before, I was always touched by his thoughtfulness, thinking he cared about my diet even when he wasn't around. But remembering how he was wearing an apron last night, busy in the kitchen for Sarah, I finally understood this was just a pretense. Money is worthless, compared to true feelings. Seeing that I hadn't eaten a bite, Robert looked a little pained. "Claire, why aren't you eating? Is it not to your taste?" "Nothing," I replied. "I miss the baby." Robert smiled. "Oh, so you miss Leo," he said. "I miss him too. I didn't understand before, but now that I'm a father, I realize I truly don't want to be separated from him for a single moment. Our Leo truly is the cutest child in the world. Mom is ecstatic about her grandson," he continued. "She's celebrating at the family estate right now. We'll go pick up Leo later." I didn't say anything. I had already decided to leave anyway, so I let him talk. When we arrived at the family estate, just as we entered the house, we saw Mary and Sarah holding and playing with Leo. Sarah was wearing high-end designer limited edition, looking radiant and perfectly put together, without any trace of postpartum exhaustion. Mary was doting on the child while feeding Sarah a nutritional supplement. Truly top-tier treatment. Sarah saw me and said to Mary with a sneer, "Mrs. Miller, please don't be so good to me. People might think I'm your daughter-in-law. Claire might get jealous, she's weak. This nutritional supplement should go to her." Mary followed her gaze and looked over at me, taking in the blood-stained clothes I was still wearing from the day of the incident, and said with disgust, "Does my son not provide you with enough to eat or wear?" Mary snapped, dressing so inappropriately, looking so dreadful. "Are you intentionally trying to disgrace our family? Look at Sarah, both of you are women who have given birth, she's much stronger than you. You're just being difficult. You're restless, running around while pregnant," she continued. "Why didn't you just fall and kill yourself? And you still have the nerve to come here and play the victim. It's a good thing my grandson is all right, otherwise I would immediately tell Rob to divorce you. Knowing you had to be nursing the baby, you still dared to take medicine recklessly," she spat. "If Sarah hadn't helped with nursing, my grandson would have starved to death because of you, you dreadful thing. I hereby announce now that I recognize Sarah like a daughter. From now on, she will call me Mom, just like Rob." I knew Mary had always disliked me. She thought I wasn't good enough for Robert, far less appealing than Sarah, who was Robert's childhood sweetheart, beautiful, sweet-talked, and popular. It wasn't until Sarah married and moved overseas, and I became pregnant that she grudgingly acknowledged me as her daughter-in-law for the sake of the child. But whenever we met, there was always cold sarcasm and mockery. Before, Robert would always say a few words in my defense, not to mention the day we went to the mall, he had insisted on dragging me there, saying he wanted to buy gifts for the upcoming baby, but now his eyes were fixed on Sarah, with unconcealed tenderness. Sarah, holding Leo, walked up to him, and playfully linked her arm through his. "Rob," Sarah purred, "did you hear? Mrs. Miller has recognized me like a daughter. My dear big brother, have you prepared a welcome gift for your little sister?" Robert pinched her cheek, a mix of helplessness and indulgence in his expression. "You little troublemaker," he said softly. "Stop calling me big brother." Despite saying that, he had someone deliver 92 high-end designer limited edition mink coats, and even had the jewelry matched. "I know you love looking good," Robert said. "But you're still in the postpartum recovery period, so you can't get cold. There are 3 months in winter, 92 days in total, so you can wear a different one every day." Sarah happily kissed Robert on the cheek like a charming young girl. "Wow," Sarah exclaimed. "A lot of these are from their collections for the next 3 years, and they're all limited editions. You actually managed to get them for me in advance. Rob, you really do spoil me. But with you giving me so many gifts," Sarah added, "Claire won't get angry, will she? Compared to these glamorous, incredibly valuable mink coats, my clothes, still bearing dried bloodstains, made me look even more like a clown." Robert paused, as if he had just remembered I was still there, and said awkwardly, "Claire, it's not what you think. Sarah is used to being overseas, you know, manners are more open there. And these clothes," he fumbled, "I heard she just gave birth too, and her husband isn't around. We grew up together after all, I just wanted to." He didn't finish his sentence, when Leo suddenly started crying and Sarah exclaimed in surprise, "Oh dear, is Leo hungry again?" Sarah said sweetly, "Mommy is going upstairs to nurse you now." After saying that, she didn't forget to give me a feigned apologetic look. "Claire, please don't misunderstand. I'm just used to comforting my own baby, and every time I say that, Leo gets very happy." She started walking upstairs holding the child, but her body swayed towards Robert's arms, and she said weakly, "Rob, I feel a little dizzy." Robert immediately pushed me away, and anxiously wrapped his arm around Sarah, his expression urgent. "How could this happen?" Robert exclaimed. "You must be weak from childbirth. I told you to rest properly at the maternity recovery center. Come on, I'll carry you up." My right leg was still in a bandage, and with that push from him, I fell and landed hard on the floor, the pain piercing. But Robert didn't spare me a glance. In front of everyone, he lifted Sarah up in a princess carry, and carried her upstairs, along with Leo. Everyone watched me with mockery, their voices filled with disdain and contempt. "No wonder Rob spoils Sarah so much," someone scoffed. "Not only is she beautiful, but she's also so kind, willing to nurse someone else's child. Unlike this useless thing, who's not only cheap and doesn't fit in, but can't even endure a little leg pain, and actually took medicine while she was nursing. How selfish. Does a person like that even deserve to be a mother?" Another person chimed in. "I think Sarah is more like Leo's mother, and she cares more for the child than Claire does. Leo even looks somewhat like Sarah, the child must be embarrassed by Claire and doesn't want to look like her. Sarah and Rob are so well matched, it's such a shame they didn't get married back then." Not only did Mary not defend me, her gaze towards me was even more disgusted, and she barked, "What are you lying there for, like a dog?" Mary barked, "If you want food, get out and beg for it. Our family doesn't feed low and useless women like you. You don't care about your own son, and you can't keep your husband's heart," she shrieked. "I heard you can't have any more children? My son marrying a wife like you is the worst luck imaginable. Go die somewhere far away. Every extra glance at you shortens my life by 10 years. A wave of humiliation washed over me. Thinking of the divorce papers I had already prepared on my phone, I didn't speak. Struggling to get up, I limped towards the study upstairs. I put the printed divorce papers in my bag, and went to the guest room to look for Robert. But they weren't in the guest room, only the postpartum caregiver was there, holding a well-fed Leo, who was resting. As I wondered where they were, I heard ambiguous sounds coming from the bedroom that belonged to Robert and me. The door wasn't fully closed. Sarah was sitting on Robert's lap, her clothes open, her voice seductive. Rob, she purred, I have too much milk. Leo's appetite is too small, I'm engorged. I'm so uncomfortable, she whimpered, could you help me suck it out? Tilda, Robert hesitated. Sarah, Robert said, don't do this. You only just gave birth 2 days ago, your body can't handle it. You've already taken a huge risk by having this child for me, behind your husband's back. I can't harm you any further. Sarah pressed his head down. Silly Rob, she whispered. I'm not afraid. What are you afraid of? Having this child for you was my choice, he's always overseas, and has no idea. Come on, cherish me, don't you want to experience this experience? Robert couldn't resist any longer and opened his mouth to take her in. The sounds from inside became increasingly unbearable, my stomach turned with nausea. I couldn't bear to watch any longer, and I ran out of the family estate as if fleeing. It wasn't until I breathed the fresh air outside that the suffocating feeling subsided a little, but the tears wouldn't stop falling. Robert, you knew I was downstairs, how could you still do such a thing? And in our bedroom, of all places, sitting by the entrance, feeling lost and distraught. I don't know how long passed when a stream of foul-smelling liquid was dumped over my head. Sarah suddenly appeared and laughed provocatively. Claire, Sarah said, does my son's pee taste good? Does Rob look good drunk on me? So she had deliberately let me see it. TSK, 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 Sarah sneered. Look at you now. Your son is dead, and you're limping on one leg. If I were you, I would have killed myself a long time ago. What's the point of living? Even if you married Rob and had his child, so what? She continued. Didn't he smother your son to death for me and my child, so you can never have children again? I even have a screen recording of your son dying, she spat. Want to see how his little face turned from red to purple? It was quite a show. I stared intently at her phone screen, watching my child slowly suffocate to death. My whole body trembled uncontrollably. How could she talk about killing a child so nonchalantly? I raised my hand high, but Sarah pulled out a knife and forcefully slashed at her own chest. Blood seeped through her clothes. The knife fell to the ground, and she let out a piercing scream. The next second, I was forcefully pushed to the ground. Robert pulled Sarah into his arms, turned his head, and roared at me, Claire, are you insane? Before I could explain, Sarah started sobbing. Rob, she sobbed, I was afraid that if I nursed Leo, Claire, being the mother, would be unhappy, so I wanted to come and explain to her. But she said I wanted to steal the child, and that she wanted to cut off my breasts, so I could never nurse a child again. What? She cried. I just felt sorry for Leo being hungry, and I just felt for the child. How could she do this to me? Robert's face turned dark as he looked at me. You rolled down the stairs yourself, and broke your leg, he said coldly. That's why things turned out this way. Why are you taking it out on Sarah? You're not a competent mother, he raged. You took medicine and couldn't nurse the baby. Sarah was kindly trying to help you. What right do you have to lay a hand on her? You don't care about the child, so you won't let anyone else care for him. I'm not a fit mother. I don't love my child. Tears streamed down my face as I roared at him in fury. Maybe I'm not a good mother, but what about you? Do you dare tell me why I fell down the stairs, where my child really is, and what kind of medication I was given? David Davis frowned. Lily is, of course, sleeping soundly in her room. That medication was for your leg pain. Didn't you know that? As for falling down the stairs, that was obviously your own carelessness. With so many people there, how did only you manage to be pushed? You're useless, and you still have the nerve to hurt Chloe? You're a mother yourself, how could you bear to harm another mother? Apologize to Chloe right now. Right. With so many people there, how was it that only I was pushed? Looking at his self-righteous expression, I suddenly laughed. This was my husband, a complete and utter liar, a murderer. I picked up the knife from the ground, used all my strength, and slashed myself more than a dozen times across the chest, until the blood soaked through my clothes. David Davis was shocked. Sar, what are you doing? Stop it. I dropped the knife and looked at him calmly. David Davis, you're right. A mother shouldn't be harmed. So, I'm atoning to the woman you love. Is this sincere enough? Having said that, I turned and left. Seeing the trail of blood at my feet, and my staggering back, David Davis wanted to come and help me, but Chloe wrapped her arms around his neck. Dave, I'm in so much pain. Will you take me to the hospital? We can't let our Lily go hungry. David Davis hesitated for a moment, but ultimately picked up Chloe, and walked in the opposite direction from me. A few hours later, David Davis' call came. "Sar, have you taken care of your wounds?" "Don't worry, I had them give Chloe ointment that won't affect breastfeeding." "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said those things to you today, but the doctor said the medication you were on isn't suitable for breastfeeding. Chloe has plenty of milk, and formula isn't nutritious enough. Lily still needs her help, so I'm just taking care of her as a way to show my gratitude. Don't take it to heart." I said calmly, "I'm fine. Take good care of her. Don't let the child go hungry." I knew my wife was the most understanding. I talked to my mother, too. "She won't bully you anymore. Giving birth to an heir for the Davis house, you're a great contributor. I'm throwing a celebration party for you, the day after tomorrow to apologize. Just wait for me." Local television stations reported all night that the president of Davis Industries went to extraordinary lengths for his mistress, flying in dozens of top experts from around the country overnight by helicopter, all just to treat his mistress' minor wound. I took out antiseptic wipes and bandages and simply treated the wounds on my body. The next day, David Davis still didn't return. I packed up all my belongings and donated them, and the marriage certificate, which I had once cherished so much, was torn into pieces and thrown into the trash can. On the afternoon of the third day, David Davis sent me a WeChat message. "Sar, I'm done with work. I'm heading over to the hotel to check on the setup. I'll have my assistant pick you up this afternoon." In fact, at that moment, he was holding Chloe's hand, with Lily in his arms, sweeping through major jewelry brand stores in the mall. Receiving the envious glances and blessings of all the store staff, Mr. Davis truly dotes on his wife and child. This family alone has made my sales quota for years. They're such a beautiful sight. But I heard Mr. Davis booked the cheapest banquet package at the hotel today. It seems it's to celebrate his wife giving birth. Are you mistaken? With Mr. Davis' lavish spending on his wife, why would he book something so cheap? See the necklace Mrs. Davis is wearing. Mr. Davis just bought it for her this morning. It cost enough to buy 10 hotels. All of this was seen by me, who had just finished buying a suitcase upstairs. I didn't reply to him. I found a local courier service to deliver the divorce agreement and a few other documents to the banquet hall later. Having done this, I put on my sunglasses and headed straight for the airport. A few hours later, David Davis finally finished shopping with Chloe and Lily and went to the hotel. But he was told that I hadn't arrived yet. David Davis checked the time. It had been an hour past the agreed time, and he felt a little strange. I was never late for a date with him. Just as he was about to call and ask, his assistant ran over in a panic, holding some documents, and said anxiously, "Mr. Davis, it's bad news. Mrs. Davis is missing. Someone just delivered these." Looking at the divorce agreement, David Davis' eyes widened in disbelief. Sar wants a divorce. How is this possible? Besides the divorce agreement, there was also a USB drive. David Davis told his assistant to quickly display the contents of the USB drive, but the assistant had come out in a hurry and hadn't brought a laptop. The only place to plug in the USB drive was the large screen at the venue, but there were so many guests present. Chloe noticed the commotion and walked over, carrying Lily. "Dave, what's wrong? Lily's been fussy with me for ages. She must want Daddy to hold her. Quick, hold him." David Davis, however, ignored her, and yelled at the assistant, "What are you waiting for? Play it now." The yelling scared Lily, who immediately started crying. Chloe comforted the child while casting a resentful glance at David Davis. David Davis had none of his previous paternal affection at that moment. His eyes were fixed on the large screen. They were several video clips edited together. There was a conversation between David Davis and a doctor in the morgue, the truth about Sarah being pushed down the stairs, and even him and Chloe being intimate at the old Davis estate. David Davis' face was pale, and he couldn't stop trembling. So, Sar knew everything. He had thought Sar, having just given birth and injured her leg, wouldn't have the strength to get out of bed, but he had underestimated a mother's anxiety and urgency upon opening her eyes and not seeing her child. And he had thought he'd hidden it well, arrogantly putting on act after act in front of Sar. When Sar begged him not to take the medication, he disregarded the plea in her eyes, half coaxing, half forcing her, permanently stripping her of her right to be a mother. David Davis couldn't imagine what Sar must have been feeling these past few days. His mind was buzzing, everything around him seemed to fade away. All he could think about was Sarah, and the image of the child he had suffocated. The guests were also shocked, murmuring among themselves. Holy hell, no way. That child was actually born to Chloe, and Mr. Davis suffocated Sar's baby. Isn't that a crime? His own flesh and blood, how could he bear it? That's too cruel. Ha ha, talk about being a doting husband. More like a wife-harming, child-killing monster, just to pave the way for his mistress' illegitimate child. He's a scumbag, that's what he is. How heartbroken Sarah must have been when she learned the truth. I always knew this Chloe wasn't up to any good, so flirty and provocative. She's married, but she's always running off to the Davis house, can't stay put. Their voices were loud. Chloe's face grew paler and paler as she tugged helplessly at David Davis' sleeve. Dave, they're all looking at me like that, what should I do? Say something, please. David Davis, however, acted as if he hadn't heard her. He pulled his sleeve away and turned to walk towards the door. He had only taken 2 steps when Martha Davis blocked his path. Son, at a time like this, are you still thinking of going after that useless woman? It's better that you're divorced. I was never happy with that daughter-in-law from the start, with her poor appearance. I was afraid she'd be a bad influence on my grandson. After saying that, she looked around and said in a stern voice, "Distinguished guests, there's been a misunderstanding here. As you all know, videos and audio can be fabricated. My son divorced Sarah a long time ago. It's her who has been relentlessly harassing him, using these underhanded tactics to frame my son. It's true that Lily was born to Chloe, and that's because Chloe is now the Davis house's daughter-in-law. She wasn't able to before because she was pregnant. When the 2 of them get married, we hope you'll all honor us by attending the wedding celebration." With the Davis house's status, no one present was a fool. They understood exactly what was going on behind her half-polite, half-threatening words. Since she had said that, no one wanted to cross the Davis house. It wasn't their business anyway, so they just treated it as entertainment. But David Davis wouldn't stand for it. He frowned and said, "Mother, what are you talking about? Divorce. New daughter-in-law. Chloe has her own husband and family. Sar is your daughter-in-law." Martha Davis seemed to have anticipated he would say that. She kindly took Chloe's hand and placed it in David Davis' palm. "My foolish boy, Chloe has already divorced her husband abroad. This was all for you. Didn't you always love her? Now you 2 can finally be together. What's so good about Sarah? She can't have children anymore. Our family has such a large estate. How is 1 child enough? Anyway, Lily was born to Chloe. You 2 need to work hard, and give me a few more grandsons." David Davis looked at Chloe in confusion. She gave him a shy expression. "Dave, Mother has already said so much. As the younger generation, how can we go against our elders? You and I are the true couple. It was wrong of me to leave you, and go abroad back then, but I never forgot you in my heart, and I remembered how good you were to me. Sarah is simply not worthy of you. You were kind enough to throw a celebration party for her, but what did she do? She actually betrayed your intentions. She knew you cared about me the most, and she still tried to hurt me before. How could such a malicious woman ever be good to Lily? Since she's already divorced you, you can't indulge her anymore. Dave, only I will truly care for you. Let's get back together, okay?" Before, when David Davis saw Chloe looking so shy, he would always feel immense affection, and wanted to give her everything. But now, seeing her, combined with her belittling of Sarah, he suddenly felt disgusted. His gaze fell on the necklace around Chloe's neck. Recalling the words of the store clerks earlier that day, a sudden pain struck his heart. Right. He had given Chloe so much. Any single piece of jewelry could buy the entire hotel, but what had he given Sar? Looking at the simple decorations around him, David Davis felt immense shame. Yet Chloe, who had enjoyed all of this, not only showed no remorse toward Sar but even shamelessly belittled her. David Davis pulled his hand away and said coldly, "Chloe, I'm only going to say this once. Whether you're divorced or not, my wife will always only be Sar. You keep saying Sar is malicious, but she knew the truth all along, and never harmed a single hair on Lily's head. And why, back then, after just 1 drink with you, I lost control. What was in that drink? You and I both know. You are not innocent. Everything between us is over. Go. We don't need to be in contact anymore. I will entrust Lily to my mother's care." Chloe's face was ashen. She looked at Martha Davis for help. Martha Davis was about to speak when David Davis cut her off coldly. "Mother, you already have your grandson. Stop pushing me. I'm your son. You know very well what happens if you drive me insane." Having said that, disregarding the guests present, he left with his assistant as fast as the wind. All the way, David Davis frantically called Sarah, but only heard the mechanical voice saying her phone was off. Sarah had even blocked him on Weshit. Returning home, David Davis' heart sank to rock bottom. All of Sar's things were gone, only the marriage certificate, torn into tiny pieces, in the trash can. He remembered the day they got the certificate. Sar's face was so radiant with happiness, and she kept looking at the certificate as if it were the most precious treasure. "Go investigate. Roads, trains, planes, ships, whatever it takes, you must find out where Sar has gone. Also, why did Chloe divorce? What exactly happened between Sar and Chloe at the entrance of the old Davis estate that day? Find out every single detail for me. Robert Miller's eyes were bloodshot. David was too scared to speak, nodding repeatedly and quickly going to do his job. Looking at the empty house, Robert Miller sank to his knees in despair. He used to think Sarah was a bit nagging after she got pregnant, constantly sending him messages every day. But he was busy, looking after Michelle Thompson, and only replied to 1 out of 10 messages. Now, however, Robert Miller wished Sarah Williams had been more nagging, had said a few more words to him. He would never dismiss her again. Robert Miller desperately missed Sarah Williams' voice. He scrolled through the chat history again and again, listening to every voice message. Robert, the doctor hinted today that our baby is a boy. But I actually prefer a daughter. That's okay, we have plenty of time. We'll definitely have a daughter later, and then she'll have a big brother to protect her. Robert, the baby kicked me today. He's such a little rascal. Are you still busy? If you're not too busy, could you call me? It doesn't have to be long, just half a minute is fine. At this moment, Robert Miller finally understood what these voice messages meant. They were Sarah's longing for him. Sadly, he understood too late. He knelt on the ground, carefully picking up the pieces, shards, holding them in his arms, and sobbing uncontrollably. David soon brought news. Mr. Miller, currently we can only confirm Ms. Williams' flight was headed to a certain city in Switzerland. The specific details haven't been found yet. Ms. Williams must have intentionally hidden the information, hardly using any identification. We are still investigating. As for why Michelle Thompson divorced and what happened at the Miller estate that day, I have already sent it to your email. Robert Miller quietly read the email content. The doorbell rang. Michelle Thompson had arrived. As soon as she entered, she wrapped her arms around Robert Miller's waist and sobbed, "Robert, I miss you so much, and I miss Anand too. Please, can I see him? I know Sarah Williams suddenly divorcing you is a blow to your pride, and you can't accept it right now. I'm willing to wait for you. I truly love you. What's so great about Sarah Williams? As a woman, I know best. She's just playing hard to get to snatch you away from me. Robert, wake up. I'm the one who matters most to you. Forget that malicious woman. Wouldn't it be better for us to live happily as a family of 3 with Anand?" Saying this, she stood on tiptoe and leaned in to kiss Robert Miller. Before, whenever she threw herself into his arms, looking so pathetic, Robert would lose control. Men are creatures who think with their lower bodies. Michelle Thompson thought it would be the same this time. But the next second, Robert Miller grabbed her neck, his eyes incredibly cold and sinister. "You love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have jumped at the chance to hook up with a foreign tycoon. The moment Miller Industries faced a crisis, abandoning me without hesitation to marry abroad. The only reason you came back a year ago was that you discovered he wasn't just a fraud, but a pervert who liked to abuse women, and even your marriage certificate was fake. Miller Industries had just overcome its crisis and was stronger than ever, so you came back to me, drugged me, got pregnant, and tried to get your hands on me and Miller Industries, didn't you? Because you knew you were just a daughter from a less prominent branch of the Thompson family. If you didn't latch onto me, you'd never live a life of privilege." Michelle Thompson's heart seized. She hadn't expected Robert Miller to have investigated all this. She shook her head repeatedly. "Robert, you've misunderstood me. You know how I am, innocent and kind since I was little. How could I be so scheming?" Robert Miller's grip tightened. "Innocent and kind? Ha, Michelle Thompson, do you take me for a fool? Did you think I didn't know you were the one who provoked Sarah that day, staging your own injury and blaming it on her? What I can forgive even less, is that you dared to show Sarah the video of the child dying, pushing her to the point where she had to leave me. You are the truly malicious one, and you will pay the price." Soon, Michelle Thompson understood what that price was. Because she saw Mr. Thorne, the foreign husband who had once abused her half to death. He walked out of the bedroom, grinning menacingly at her. "Hello, darling. Long time no see. I've really missed your screams." Robert Miller threw Michelle Thompson onto the floor. She cried and clung to his leg, pleading, "Robert, don't do this to me. Please, I barely managed to escape. Don't send me back to hell." Robert Miller looked down at her, his voice icy cold. "Because of you, I pushed Sarah into hell. I lost Sarah, and now I live in hell too. And why should you not be in hell?" Michelle Thompson was dragged away by that man. She would never escape this time. Because as punishment for trying to escape, he sawed off her legs and fed them to wild dogs. Half a month later, David finally brought Robert Miller good news. "Mr. Miller, we found Ms. Williams' location. At that time, I was working as a caregiver in a children's home, in a rural town in Switzerland. Because they were extremely short-staffed, Ms. Eleanor Vance didn't even ask for my identification. I asked her if she wasn't afraid I was a bad person. She smiled and shook her head, looking at me kindly. There is sorrow in your eyes, the kind of sorrow a mother feels when she loses a child. I find it hard to believe that someone who genuinely grieves for a child could be a bad person. There are many children here, they are all little angels. I hope they can heal the wounds in your heart. The conditions here were good, I had a salary, and room and board were included. And my favorite part of the job was preparing meals for the children every day. I had originally learned to cook those meals for my own child, but tragically, he never had the chance to eat them. Watching these children eat the food I prepared and show happy smiles every day, I felt as though I was being healed too. I had lost my own child. But here, I became Miss Sarah to over 100 children. One day, Lily, a little girl at the home, met her adoptive parents. They were Drive and Mrs. Evans, a Chinese-American couple. Both were doctors, gentle and easy to get along with, and they genuinely loved children. As usual, I prepared a special lunchbox and hugged the little one, wishing her a happy family and future, good health, and a long and happy life. Lily kissed my cheek. Miss Sarah, I'll miss you. Goodbye. And the gentleman behind you, Mr. Miller, I've seen him for days now. Please say goodbye to him for me too. I was stunned for a moment. It wasn't until the car drove away that I slowly turned around. Robert Miller was wearing the same clothes he wore the day he confessed his feelings, looking at me with deep longing. Sarah, during the time you were gone, I kept thinking, if none of that had happened, and our child had grown up healthy and safe, what kind of mother would you have been? It turns out, you would have been this beautiful. I looked at him indifferently. Is there any point in saying that now? Robert Miller shook his head with a bitter smile. Sarah, I know my sins are heavy, and I don't deserve to be here. Even though I've been here for a month, I haven't dared to come in and find you. I've only dared to stand outside, satisfied just to catch a glimpse of you. But people are always greedy. I miss you so much, which is why I put on these clothes. I just wanted to shamelessly ask you one thing. If I truly understand my mistakes, and I'm willing to spend the rest of my life making it up to you, can we ever go back to how things were? I laughed sarcastically. Robert Miller, before you ask that question, answer me this. Can my child come back to life? Don't talk to me about compensation. Seeing someone like you standing at the entrance of a children's home makes me want to call the police. Robert Miller was silent for a long time, until the sorrow in his eyes threatened to overflow. He said with self-deprecation, "You're right. I understand. I'll go where I belong and never bother you again." He took a document from his bag. Sarah, your divorce agreement wasn't rigorous enough. I've signed a new one. This isn't compensation, it's what you deserve. I know you don't want to come near me. I'll leave the agreement on the ground. You can pick it up after I leave. Sarah, I'm leaving now. From this day forward, no matter where I am, I will pray for you, 1,000 times every minute, hoping you find happiness and peace for the rest of your life. Sarah, goodbye. Robert Miller looked at me, one last time, full of boundless reluctance and longing, then turned and left. Watching his retreating figure, I thought, perhaps the me who used to go to prenatal checkups alone, who sat alone at home staring out the window until dawn, was like this too. Only, the lonely person wasn't me anymore. The next day, a massive sum of money was transferred into my account. Robert Miller had specified it in the divorce agreement. Yes, no shares, no properties, just cash. A few days later, I understood why. Robert Miller turned himself in, publicly admitting to instructing others to harm his wife, and being responsible for the death of their child. Miller Industries stock plummeted. Various businesses under his control suffered massive blows, and even properties found no buyers. He was a ruthless, cold-blooded monster, who deserved to be punished. I don't know if he was sentenced to death, because the trial results hadn't come out before Robert Miller committed suicide. And with that money, I established children's homes and relief centers worldwide. I hope every child in this world can grow up safe and sound and have a long and happy life.